Some critics now demanding to know why Mr. Obama won't have a face-to-face with the likes of BP's Hayward when candidate Obama said that he would meet with some of the world's most notorious dictators from Iran, from North Korea, and so on. Here's a reminder of some of what he said back in '08.
Now, it is true, though, that I believe that we should have direct talks, not just with our friends, but also with our enemies.
Joining me now here on set, Richard Socarides. He's a former White House special assistant to President Bill Clinton. All right, Richard, so the criticism is, it's not the same, right? Obviously, it's not the same.
Definitely not the same.
But the criticism is he was all about dialogue when he was running for office. All about dialogue. Open it up, hear the other side, express your side, and so on. And that's when he's talking about Iran and Syria and North Korea.
Right.
Why won't he even sit down with BP's Tony Hayward?
Well, of course, during the campaign, when he spoke about meeting with those world leaders, he was speaking about meeting with other people who run governments and who are in charge of countries. I think probably what happened was that early on there was a calculation that it wouldn't get them anything, that the government's response was fully integrated, that obviously Admiral Allen was meeting with the representatives of BP, and that there was no real need from a practical standpoint. It wouldn't make anything better for the president actually to sit down with him, and it would just be a photo op. And the president gets criticized because he's just engaged in photo ops. The president sort of can't win. But I think a decision was made that they were doing everything they could do practically to help the people, to stem the leak, and that an actual meeting and a photo op wouldn't do any good. I think that's probably what happened.
He was okay with this photo op, out inspecting the tar balls on the beaches down in the Gulf. Now this photo op he's okay with, but he doesn't want to meet with the guy who actually is responsible for the cleanup of the largest oil disaster in this nation's history.
It's certainly tricky. I mean, different factors go into each day making decisions about what the president does, and you have to, you change it a little bit every day. But the truth is that I think that a decision was made, and I certainly think it's defendable that, an actual meeting. Well,
you don't seem like you like the decision.
I might have made a slightly different decision because I think probably at a certain point a meeting would have been worthwhile. And I understand now that they've spoken on the phone. I heard on one of the other networks this morning that they had actually spoken on the phone, and they probably will meet. But I mean, this guy's part of a company that we're not at war with a foreign country, but we're sort of at war with a British oil company. I mean, these people are the wrongdoers.
Answer to us. How is President Obama going to put his boot on the neck of Tony Hayward if he won't even sit down with him face to face? How do you get to the neck if you don't even meet with the face?
Well, I think that the government has a lot of resources, and you can put a lot of pressure on the company.
It's different.
Listen,
it's different when you get called into at a company. You get called into the CEO's office. Forget your direct boss or one of the underlings.
Yeah.
The CEO calls you in there and says, "What are you doing to fix the mess you made here at this company?" Has a different effect on you.
I think this is one of the things where you sort of you lose either way. You lose there's a downside if you meet with him. There's a downside if you don't meet with him. The downside if you meet with him is that the president is spending time talking with one of the wrongdoers when he could be actually getting stuff done. But I think this whole discussion really diverts our attention. Just diverts our attention from the important issues here. First of all, that everything that can be done is being done. Second of all, that we have a historic opportunity here to recognize that our dependence on oil has led us down this path. Number three, that a decade-long ambivalence about regulating this industry and a failure to exercise any kind of oversight for a decade has really brought us to a place where we really weren't prepared for this disaster. So an individual meeting is not really going to cure any of those problems.
But nonetheless, it's being asked even by people in the mainstream media. That was Matt Lauer's interview on the Today Show. That wasn't Fox News. That was the Today Show.
You like the president's answer? Was that cerebral enough for you? That was our president not being cerebral.
I don't know. My question is, when you see Matt Lauer raising the issue of why aren't you meeting with the CEO, you have to ask. And some of the president's critics have said it could be because he is the largest recipient of BP money. They donated more to him than any other candidate.
I really don't think that's the reason. I think someone early on made a decision that it wouldn't do any good. That people under the president could meet with the CEO, and that was the decision they've made. But those decisions can change. I'll bet you'll see a meeting before this is over.
I got one more question for you. You're a Democrat. You worked for President Clinton. You like President Obama. How bad is this for him? The image of that oil gushing out of that well. And some people say it's sort of a metaphor for what's happening with the Obama presidency, with so many things that are negative for him
Well,
happening.
I don't think it's a metaphor, because I think actually so far he's done pretty good on the big things. I think the health care reform, you know, for us Democrats was a big victory. I think these elections don't count him out. You know, this is a very fluid situation, so I think the Democrats will do much better than people predict on the midterms. I think that you know, there were a couple of there's a little bit of a rocky period there where it didn't seem like the government was doing everything it could, but we learn now that behind the scenes the government really was completely up to speed, and if there were any problems, it was really in terms of communicating what was being done. I think they've now set the right tone, and I think it's going to, you know, go much better for him, and I think he is fully in charge, that Alan is fully in charge, and what needs to be done is being done.
So far 69% of the American people say he's not doing a good job, so
yeah,
we'll see.
I don't think that meeting's going to be with Mr. Hayward is going to be that important.
I would say it wasn't rocky so much as slippery. Thank you, Richard.
Thanks,
Always a pleasure.
Good to see you.
We've got